When I found out what my classmate was planning to do, I decided to bug him about it every single day until he gave up. I overheard Tyler talking on his phone in the parking lot after school. I was loading my backpack into my car when I heard him say, "No, I've got it all figured out. 2 weeks from Friday. It'll be quick and no one will know it was me until it's too late." My blood went cold. Tyler was quiet, sat in the back of our calculus class, ate lunch alone. He'd been increasingly isolated over the past few months. I didn't know what he was planning exactly, but I knew it wasn't good. I thought about telling a teacher or the principal, but I had no proof. Just an overheard phone call that could mean anything. So I decided to do something different. The next day, I sat down next to Tyler at lunch. He looked shocked. No one had sat with him in months. "Hey, Tyler," I said casually. "How's it going?" He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "Fine," he muttered. Cool. So what are you up to? Any big plans coming up?" His eyes went wide for a split second before he looked down at his food. "No, nothing." I smiled and kept eating, making small talk about calculus homework. He barely responded, but I didn't care. I'd planted the seed. Every single day after that, I made sure Tyler knew I was watching. I'd sit with him at lunch. I'd ask about his weekend plans. I'd wave at him in the hallways. I'd text him about homework even though we'd never exchanged numbers before. I got his number from the class group chat. At first, he tried to ignore me. Then he started getting annoyed, asking why I was suddenly so interested in his life. I just shrugged and said I was being friendly. But I noticed things changing. He stopped carrying that black backpack he'd been bringing to school, the one that always looked heavy, like it was full of something. He'd take different routes through the hallways, like he was trying to avoid me. He started leaving school immediately after last period instead of staying late. Other people started noticing too. My friend group asked why I was hanging around Tyler so much. I made up an excuse about a group project, but Sarah, who'd known me since elementary school, pulled me aside one day. "What are you really doing?" she asked. I told her I couldn't explain, but I needed her to trust me. She looked worried, but nodded. Then Tyler started missing school. One day, then 2, then 3. I texted him asking if he was okay. No response. I drove by his house after school. His car was in the driveway, but all the curtains were closed. On the 4th day, I went to the principal's office. I told Vice Principal Ramirez that I was worried about Tyler, that he'd been acting strange, that I'd overheard something concerning. She thanked me for coming forward and said she'd look into it. That afternoon, Tyler came back to school, but he looked different, lighter somehow, less tense. When he saw me in the hallway, he didn't avoid me. He walked right up to me. "I need to talk to you," he said quietly. We went to an empty classroom. Tyler sat down and put his head in his hands. "You knew, didn't you?" he said, "about what I was planning." I nodded slowly, my heart pounding. "Every day you were there asking about my plans, making sure I knew someone was paying attention, someone would notice if something happened." He looked up at me and his eyes were red. "I couldn't do it with you watching." I kept pushing it back, telling myself next week, but you were always there. And then I started thinking, maybe I didn't have to. My mouth went dry. "Tyler, what were you?" But before I could finish, the classroom door opened, and standing there was someone I never expected to see. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.